News Talk, 95.1 FM, 790 AM. This is KFYO Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. And we have, Gary Adrian is back with us. Gary, you were here last year at about the same time.
Pretty close.
Yeah. Because we're talking taxes.
And it's coming. It's right around the corner.
Yes, it is. So tell us about taxes and what you do for folks.
About taxes, we all hate them. You know, it's part of life just as much as death is. Property taxes in Texas are the main source of funding for schools and a lot of other things. We Texans passed an amendment a few years ago that said we will not have a state income tax. That's one of the things that a lot of states use. So property taxes is a big source of money for these entities. The cities, the counties, schools, water district, hospital district, all draw their money from that. It's time in the tax year, April 1, according to tax code, or as soon as possible after. Tax notices are to be mailed out. And what a tax notice is a document that tells you what the taxing entity feels like your property is worth, as well as it also gives you an avenue for appeal, and it also shows exemptions on it. So this is your shot. You've only got a few days, shorter this year than it has been in the past, to either agree with your value or protest it or get in touch with somebody like me. And that's what we do, is find out if the property is valued fairly, and if it's not, we take care of the protest process, gather all the information we need, meet with the LCAT appraisers, go to appraisal review board hearings, whatever we need to. Take it pretty much out of the hands of the taxpayer, because it's a very daunting process.
Yeah, so, Gary, now, these are the taxes. These are our property taxes, which actually you don't have to pay until January.
Right. Yeah. This is your opportunity to protest, and your notice for the statement that's actually used when you pay comes back out in November. But this is the only shot that you've got to challenge that number.
Is there an expectation of what people are going to see? Do you think that the appraisals are going to go up this year?
Absolutely.
Because I mean, I've been watching the market. It seems like the market slowed down quite a bit, especially with interest rates and whatnot. But I know they go back a little further normally than maybe a real estate agent would.
Right. It's cooled off a little bit, but not just a tremendous amount. I mean, as a realtor, you know that our inventory is still really low. It's still skewed heavily in favor of sellers. Values determined for January 1 of 2018 are based on sales from 2017. So you kind of follow almost a year in arrears. And this is one of the main things that I saw people making mistakes when I was an appraiser at Lubbock Central Appraisal District. They'd bring in, they all go see the realtor and say, I need some help with this. So the realtor spends a lot of time and pulls up comps and stuff. And so many times I saw folks come in with properties to try to use to bring your value down, because that's what it takes is houses that are selling for less. And they were using properties that were sold in the wrong year. They were, just a few months old. It's so much different than what realtors do with a comparative market analysis. Right. So the wrong year of sale, the wrong class, which they've got a classification system that's supposed to be based on quality. And if you don't get the right ones in, they're just going to throw them out. So I've seen so many times people go down there feeling like that they're armed to the teeth. And by the time the appraiser throws out the comps and the information they've got, they walk out the door with the same number they walked in with, and very frustrated. If you understand exactly how it works, it's not as difficult. It's as in any occupation. Once you've got some experience at it and you understand the way that everything works behind the scenes.
You know where all the potholes are, don't you?
You better believe it. I like to tell people we know what they can do, we know what they can't do. Yeah. We know what they'll give it a try.
Don't waste your time on chasing the rabbit down the wrong trail there.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that we do once we are appointed as someone's agent. Every single year, we get a copy of their appraisal card. We get a copy of LCAD's market analysis. We look at, because we're also MLS members of Lubbock Association of Realtors, we have all the sales as well. So we take a look at their stuff. We take a look at our stuff. If there's a chance that we can get a value reduction, then we're going to protest it and pursue it. Okay. But if everything looks like, no, your value is where it should be or even too low, we don't protest that. And the main reason is we're not going to waste our time and their time trying to go after something that's not there.
Okay, now Gary, you deal. Of course, your business is Ace of Texas, and you deal with residential.
Right, residential single family, which
Mm-hmm.
takes care of course, single family houses, duplexes, quadruplexes, and up to that point.
And
do
but
work with-
also with us this morning is Brent Harrison, who is with Alpha Tax Solutions. And Brent, you deal with the other side of the you deal with the commercial.
Correct. Like
You
Gary,
got to get real close to that microphone.
Okay.
There you go.
Is that better?
There you go.
I appreciate you having me, Gary,
Not a
and
problem.
you too, Matt and Dave. But I deal mainly with commercial property, apartments, strip centers, office buildings, some land. But what is coming up now, April 1st, a lot of businesses don't know that they have to pay property taxes on their assets as well, their furniture, their fixtures, machinery and equipment, autos, inventory. And used to, you had to render that by April 15th. The property tax code states that you shall render, and if you don't, then the district is charged with coming up with the value for your business. And if you don't render, they also add a 10% penalty. That deadline has changed from April 15th to April 1st.
Well, now, I tell you, a lot of people are unaware of this.
Right. Mainly new businesses, maybe, that didn't know when they started the business that they pay property taxes on their business assets. And that's something that there's nobody there to tell them until they get that notice from the appraisal district. So that deadline is coming up, as Gary said, on Sunday, but because it is on a weekend, it'll be pushed to Monday at midnight. So there's a very short window between now and then to get your rendition filed.
You said that I believe you were telling us during a break, though, that if it's something that they can't get together, they need to file a 30-day extension, and you could possibly help them with that.
Right. If you file a written request for an extension, then the district has to give you that extension, 30 days. If you still need more time, you can file another extension, but it has to be for good cause, and it's for 15 days. Usually health issues, death, catastrophic. It can't just be that, well, I hadn't had time to do it. I mean, that's not good cause. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, we can help file the extension. We can help go over the rendition with them if they would like us to help, or if we could answer any questions, we'd be glad to.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk more about your taxes, commercial and residential. And we're back at 7:47 a.m. here on KFYO Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. And again, talking to Gary Adrian of Ace of Texas about property tax deadlines. And you had some interesting thoughts about, not thoughts, but you had some interesting information that we talked about off mic about the May 15th and May 31st deadline has changed this year.
Absolutely it has. So you'll notice on your previous tax notices that the deadline for filing a protest has always been either 30 days after the notice is sent or the end of last day of May, whichever is later. Legislative session that concluded this last year, they changed the deadline, so it's no longer the 31st. They drew it back to the 15th of May. So everybody out there who's used to waiting until the 31st, you're not going to get your shot this
It
year.
sounds like they've set a trap for people, doesn't it?
I don't know I'd go quite that far, but I don't care for it. I think that people ought to have as long as they want, and a 60-day period from the time the notice goes out until time to protest is plenty for folks to evaluate the property and decide whether or not that they want to protest it. But backing this thing off by 15 days without huge public input or anything to it. So my point today that I really want to make is all you calendar markers out there that go write everything on your calendar and remind yourself of the deadlines. This one is a very, very important one for you with regards to your property tax values. May 15th is now your deadline. It's midnight May 15th. So I guess if you can go up there and shoot a selfie of yourself dropping it into the night box, you might be able to get away with it. We do a lot of our stuff electronically and try to file our protest a day or so before. We don't want to push that deadline and take a chance of not getting somebody that opportunity. But May 15th is your number now. That's the real important thing. Again, Brent Harrison with Alpha Tax Solutions is here with me. When folks hear me talk about him and referring folks to him, we call ourselves handshake business partners. I don't own any of Brent's business. He owns none of mine. But he handles all my commercial properties for my residential homeowners, and vice versa. I take care of his residential properties for the folks that he has. So it's a real win-win situation for both of us.
You've both worked for the appraisal district before and been on the other side of this.
Absolutely.
So
I was there for 10 years. Brent was
16.
So y'all know all the ins and outs of and everything that people need to know to get around any roadblocks. You know how to look this stuff up, and like you said, there's different date periods that if you're not within those date periods of your appraisals, then they're going to throw them out.
That's a fact. Yeah, knowing what to take is a big part of the battle. Finding it is another animal. And trying to gather all the information that you're going to need, all the sales, et cetera. That's a lot of work. It really is. The big deadline, and the main reason I brought Brent in with me this morning, and I hope to have him back again this year. But the big thing that we're looking at, staring down the barrel of right now, is April 1st is the deadline for renditions. So builders, any business owners, any of them that, of course, if you've got furniture, fixture, machinery, or equipment, you're going to have to tell them or get an extension. Or if you don't file a rendition, and they will determine a value for you. And there's also, I believe, a 10% penalty for not filing that rendition. So,
Jeez, I got to check on that.
Well, there's some folks out there who choose not to. They basically decide that the district is well underneath what their value is, and it's worth it to file the penalty.
So if we own a business,
But wait just a second. So everybody has got to pay something, even if all you have is a computer, a laptop, and a desk.
Business owner. Now, there is a House bill. If it's
Well, I'm talking about business.
right.
So
And
what is the minimum?
Well, if you have $500 or less, then you don't get a tax bill.
Okay.
So if you do just have a computer worth $350, you still render it and you have an account, but you won't get pay taxes on it.
So if I own a business and I need some help figuring all this out or knowing what I need to do, how do they get a hold of you?
You can call me or Gary. We office right next to each other. My number is 806-771-1461. And both of us have grown rather fast pace the last couple of years. So we've added some office help. There's actually a total of 5 of us in the office now. So in the past, when you grow so fast, it's hard to keep up with. Right. So we have some help now to answer the phone, respond after hearings, to let you know what happened and where we're at. Okay. So we're getting better at that, and we should have somebody there answering the phone. If not, leave a message and we'll get right back to you.
So if you're wanting to file an extension, do you get that from LCAD? How do you get the
most of the things that they have? There's a form for put out by the state. The code on this just says by written request.
So
we have a letter, and then we list our accounts and who they are and what we need extension on.
Now that's Brent Harrison's voice that you're hearing there, and Brent works on the commercial side of taxes. And we have Gary Adrian. By the way, we have a texter this morning from the 620 that says, "Thanks for having Mr. Adrian on KFYO today. I learned something every time he's there."
I'm glad.
That's your wife, I think.
I had been on for a few years. Last year, I kind of cut my stuff down a little bit. I knew I was getting real close to my capacity last year, which, by the way, a couple of things I'm really excited about this year, other than the fact that we've got office help. She's very, very good at what she does. I've also hired another gal who's going to help me with the agency end of stuff. Yeah. She'll be coming online pretty soon. She's finishing her training. She was an LCAD appraiser for 4 years, so we got somebody else with experience.
And we are out of time, Gary.
Oh, I'll be back next week.
Yeah, we'll see you back here next week.
We do want to say you can email Gary at aceoftexas.com or give him a call at 806-777-9973. And Brent, what was your phone number again for commercial?
806-771-1461.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week.
You bet.
7:53 now.